We will now take a look at some other events that are associated with the forms. Two primary events for which you may need to write code are the form load event and the form activated event. If we open the code window of this blank form, you'll notice in the top left window pane or drop down box there is an event called Form 1 Events. If I activate that and then click on the right drop down box, you'll see a rather long list of events that you can associate with forms. The form load event shown here, form load, activates whenever the form is loaded. There's a difference between loading a form and activating a form. A form load occurs when it's displayed for the first time. It happens only once for any one form. So if you want some code to execute when the form is loaded, which does not necessarily mean that it's activated, then you can write code in this location to occur at this point, form load event. So I'll just put a comment here as a placeholder for our code that will go in the load event. Now another event is the activated event. Again, if I find in the list the form activated event and choose it, as you can see, it simply is referred to as form 1 activated. So again, here I can write code in this location for when it's to be activated. Now what this means is that when the form loads, then you could choose to write code or not. Then immediately after the form load is the activated event. If you hide a form but don't close it and then return to that form, then the activated event will reoccur. But the form load event only occurs when the form is first loaded into memory. So depending on what you want to do with your forms, you might want to write code in either of these two events or both. That is the form load and the form activated events. Another useful purpose for these form events is, for example, if you wish to set the focus of a particular place on the new form. You could place that focus in the form name activated procedure as opposed to load. That way, every time the form is activated, the focus will go to your desired object on that form. Keep in mind that activated event occurs each time the form is shown and the event procedure is the correct location for initialization or focus. Another form event is referred to as the paint event. So again, from the right drop down arrow, I can see that there is a paint event. And I would write code in this location for code that I wish to execute for the paint event. The paint event occurs each time any portion of the form is redrawn, which happens each time a change is made or the form is moved or changed or uncovered. Another event is the deactivated event. So again, in this rather long list, you'll see a deactivate event, and in this location you would write code for the deactivate event. The deactivate event occurs when the form is no longer the active form, such as when the user clicks on another form or the form is about to be hidden or closed. So you can cause code to occur just as a form is being deactivated, just like you can cause code to execute when it's being activated. And there are two other events that I want to mention here. One is the form closing event. So here's our placeholder here. The form closing event occurs as the form is about to close compared to the form closed event, which occurs after the form is closed. So again, the form closing event versus the form closed event. So here is our code for form closed. Again, the difference here is as the form is attempting to close, you can write code in the form closing event, but as it is closed, once the closing has occurred, you could still write code to be executed at that point in time. So keep in mind, you can write code for any of these event procedures associated with the form to cause things to happen in each of these specific events. The best way to understand these and to come to understand their purpose is simply to take some time to experiment with these various events and see how they occur when you have multiple forms.